I hope it starts right when the burp happens.
No, I don't think so, because it started like 6 seconds ago. Alright, we're live.
All right.
Excellent.
I see it.
Jump onto the
Alright.
live thing.
Alrighty then. Whenever you guys are ready.
Yep, I'm ready.
Good to go.
Alright. 3, 2...
Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast, and what do you know, it's been a big week in gaming. I'm your host for this week, Swinny, for episode 108 on this Sunday, the 11th of December 2022. And this week's show, all the big winners from the Game Awards, including results of our heated prediction contest. Massive game reveals from the show, including Armored Core, Death Stranding 2, and a Hades sequel. And the US Federal Trade Commission sues to block the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. If you'd like to support the show, we'd love to get you to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. If you're a mega fan, come join us on the Discord. All the links are in the description below at bigwigpod.com. Joining us today, we have our executive producer, Integot.
Hello.
And the ever lovable, ever huggable Mike.
Oh, thanks.
Effable.
Ever effable, if only. No, huggable only because I'm fat.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the F word. Fatable.
Fatable. So, I look, I don't want to boast or anything while I was away. I do believe I came second in the predictions. Did I not? Huh? That's pretty good, wasn't it?
We've got a whole segment talking about these prediction results, Mike.
Can I just say that
you can boast? You can boast then,
because I see this is not consistent across the industry. Like, is that because I've seen things where it'll go equal one, and then the next spot is 3. I've seen that many times as well.
Yeah, I don't like that because it's just weird to me that, you know.
I get
it, right? I get it, but it's like the first place and the next person is second to me, you know.
Yeah, look, spoiler alert, I came very much last.
You're second and last.
Second and last.
Wait, remember with the Olympics, the recent Olympics, they had the high jumpers and they got into a deadlock where they kept on jumping. And there's some weird rule in high jumping where they said you basically can go, okay, we've met each other's high jumps each time. You can just both get a gold medal, or you can keep going. And then the guys were like, let's just get the gold medal. Like, why would we choose anything else? Right? Which I totally agree with. I don't agree with the rule at all, but I totally agree with that idea, right? But they still gave silver medals and bronze medals.
Oh, okay.
So I'd almost go the Olympics are the definitive, reality. So yes, after that long diatribe, you're second.
And talking about the Game Awards, if anybody didn't see, we did a live reaction, Integot myself. So you can check that out on our channel under the live tab, the whole 3 hours or so of the show, including our reaction to the hilarious thing that I'm sure we will talk about, the troll at the end of the show. That was that was a moment. So we'll probably get into that when we get into the Game Awards news segment. But Integot, I know you asked a question to me last week. I was wondering whether or not you're going to ask Mike again this week.
Oh yeah. Should I frame it with a number, or should I ask what the number he would pick?
I'll leave it up to you.
Okay. So the question that I had last week is, if there was an evil genie who popped, poof, right? And said you have to make a decision one way or the other, right?
Okay.
Choice A is you never play games again. Choice B is you get to keep playing games. But this is the deal. If you play games, you'll lose 2 years of your life, like your life expectancy, right? So if you're going to die at 85, you're going to die at 83 instead, right? Mm-hmm. Or the other choice is you don't play games, but you're guaranteed to get those 2 years, which also means you're basically indestructible for the next 2 years.
See, that is a different kind of question.
No, but it's the implication of it. So which choice would you make?
Well, first of all, I have no idea what my life expectancy is, but if it happens to be around 85, fuck that. And I don't really see my life between 83 and 85 being particularly great anyway.
I did say that.
So why the fuck would I even choose that?
It could be 37. Or wait,
37 it is then, whatever.
It could be 42, and then you're shaving 2 years off.
No, I'm fine.
So what are you saying? You play games and lose 2 years of your life?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So I was
not
I don't value my
expecting that
life
from
very
Mike.
much.
I know.
so-
I was not expecting that from
I
Mike.
thought you were
I know,
going to
right?
say no, like you would go, I'd give it up or something. So I did. I think I said 3 years to you, Swinny.
You know what I
And
value less than playing games? My
What?
life. So
this is funny from a man who's willing to lose 2 years of his life, but thinks that watching the Game Awards is stupid. It's very, very interesting moral kind of like position.
I like to play the games, I don't watch the games.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of get it. But Swinny, what did you end up landing on? Because you were kind of tossing and turning with the whole thing.
No,
right?
I said I wouldn't give up 3 years of my life
Yeah,
to
that's
play
amazing.
games.
Can you-
Where'd it come 3 from?
No, because he asked me
Oh, yeah,
3.
three.
I had to go
Changed
more
it to
extreme
you.
with Swinny. I had to go more extreme
Oh
with
wow,
Swinny.
okay, yeah.
I thought
even if
2,
it was
it's going to be a
probably 5,
no-brainer.
I'd be like, 5's still fine. I mean, again,
5?
it depends.
5?
Yeah.
Holy
Well, it
shit.
depends when. Okay, let's say hypothetically my life expectancy
Wow,
was
that's-
70, right? Like 70 was when somehow you could calculate is exactly when I'll die. I'd be happy to probably shave 20 years off that.
20?
Yeah. Like 50 seems
Wait,
like a good
wait,
cutoff.
Wait.
So
Wait, can I be clear here? So if the evil genie came and said, you
Yeah.
get to keep playing games, but you'll die at 50, right? Or you'd stop playing games and you'll likely die at 70, you'll keep playing games.
yeah, because
That's insane.
does he say how I will die? As in, will he
Doesn't
make
matter.
it?
That's no.
Well, no, because maybe
Die the
it's a
same
bit-
way. Die the same
maybe
way.
it's a
In
bit
your
of-
sleep.
Oh, and then fine then. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll choose to die at 50 in my sleep. Sounds like a great outcome.
That's not. We're quite old, so that's not that far
think
away.
We're getting away from the whole video game
I'll take
aspect
that.
and more so just
Even if I don't
Mike's
play video
stance
games,
on
I'll be
life.
like, sure, that sounds like a great idea.
This is the next podcast. It's a
The
psychology
suffering.
podcast. It's called the depression pod.
All right. Well, we do have a
Wow.
pack. We do have a packed show, so I might get us into what we've been up to this week. So, Integot, I think you're going to kick us off.
Oh, yeah. So I've got my normal combo, Splatoon 3, but Big Run is happening. And look, like, I love the what's it called? Salmon Run mode. Sorry, I was like, it was fleeting me. The Salmon Run mode, I love it. But Big Run, it's kind of like not... I was probably expecting a little bit too much from it. It's very minimal changes. Like, literally, you're just in Wahoo World. It's like, okay, that's not that exciting. And yeah, like, very minimal that you actually get from it. So, I don't know. I'm not the hugest fan of it. Still playing Picross 2, the Game Boy version, obviously. I'll cover Lego Star Wars because I think you're going to talk about it for a second when you get up to that.
Yep.
Loop Hero. Hey, Mike, have you played Loop Hero? I think you remember it if you played it.
Wait, let me look it up.
Hey, you've only got 10 years to live, so come on. Hurry up.
Oh.
Wasting every precious minute. Here.
No, I have not.
Okay. I
have
don't know.
not.
Hey, what are you looking up, by the way?
Just on Google, trying to see if I actually played this. No, I haven't.
Dude,
This doesn't look familiar.
You'll love it, man.
Okay.
You'll love it. It's amazing. I really, really, really love this game. I am very conscious that I'm getting addicted to it, so I might probably give it another 10 hours and then maybe just put it down. I started
And then we'll see how
playing
we go.
Pokemon Blue again. I don't know. It's on the Game Boy.
The very
Yeah, I was
original.
gonna
Yeah,
say
the
how
OG,
that's
the OG
really
one.
OG one.
Okay.
the OG. And
That's awesome.
you know, it's awesome. It's awesome. It runs 60 frames a second consistently,
It's more technical sound than the latest actually.
and the glitches get you Mew. So it's just it's amazing the difference.
Wow.
Or missing no.
Yeah, missing no as well. No, you can get Mew as well from a glitch.
I know.
And the last one that I wanted to cover and get your thoughts, boys, on is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Excellent.
So, given that the potentially a new game's coming out, we'll cover it shortly in the TGA section.
Essentially.
I'm like, I do want to get around to playing the OG, and whoa, Mike's just disappeared.
Mike's just turned into a flat screen. He's gone. He can't. His voice is not there anymore.
the genie's come for him already.
It's like, the genie's like going, he was so enthusiastic. Let's just.
The genie's like,
end it.
he's talked to legal and compliance, and he said, "Wait, he's on the record. He's actually streaming. It's real."
The genie's like, clearly this guy doesn't want to be around anymore. Let's just end it
Can
now.
you guys hear me at all? I can still hear you guys.
I can hear you. Can you hear him?
Hi.
I can't
Hey, can you
Coming
refresh?
live-
Can you
coming
refresh?
live from hell?
No, he can't hear you, Mike. He can't hear you.
Really
I can
hot
hear
here. It's super
Mike, can you
hot.
restart everything?
Yeah, I'll restart. Hang on.
All right. Jesus
well,
Christ.
I think it's one of the first times that's happened to us on the show.
I don't know what Mike's doing.
Funny.
Fuck. What was I even up to? Oh, yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, right? So, look, this game's awesome. I'm really, really enjoying it. It does answer an interesting question that I've always had, which is what happens if in Dark Souls they explain more about what's happening?
He's back.
I'm back from the dead, baby.
Back, baby.
Back
Can you
from
hear
the
him,
dead.
Swinny?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay, good.
Excellent. I don't know what the heck happened there.
So,
That's weird.
the Star Wars Jedi Fallen
Genie.
Order,
Yes.
it really does to me explain, and you know what happens if you have a Dark Souls game and you explain a lot of stuff and you tutorialize it, and you know if people get stuck, you kind of prod them along, and it does kind of not ruin the magic, but there is a certain element to just like the Miyazaki games where it's, the fact that they're not feeding you all this stuff is part of the game. Like, it really is genuinely part of it. Now, I really enjoy Fallen Order. It's very cool. Only a couple of hours into it. But I could really see myself finishing this game. The one thing is, I don't think it's as hard as what so far.
Not. No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Well, I keep on hearing that people say this game's so hard. It's so ridiculously hard. But I only play games just on the default settings. Like, whatever they tell me to play it on, I'll play it like that. Unless it's ridiculous, like Kirby or something like that. So, yeah, but really, really enjoying it. Are you beaten it, Mike? Yeah.
Yeah,
So did
absolutely.
you
I've
like
been-
it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
The only thing is, to me, it's not really a Souls-like game, to be honest. It's more like a Metroidvania kind of.
I think
it's more
action
the combat. I
adventure
think it's
kinda
more the
game.
combat elements.
It's
that people
similar-ish,
say. Yeah.
similar-ish, just because you target them and you have a little dot in the middle of
Well,
it. But really, it's
I think it's
like
actually
God of War, basically. But God of War isn't. To me, it's closer to God of War than it is to the Souls games.
I honestly, I think it's like pretty, not carbon copy, but it's pretty heavily taking from the Dark Souls formula. Like, you literally have memory spots, like bonfires. If you sit and, meditate, all the
it's got
enemies
a lot
come
of-
back.
that's
You
true.
get all
It
your
does have
health
a lot of
back.
those elements.
You have stims, like Estus Flask. Like, it's kind of got, like, all the elements of Dark Souls. The only thing is, I don't think it's as hard. Maybe I
No,
should play it on a
it's
harder
not.
setting.
And the elements where you have to go back to a certain area once
Yes.
you get an ability. I mean, Dark Souls doesn't really have that.
No, but that's where it's more like a Metroidvania.
It's a mix, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a mix of both, which is why I enjoyed it, because it took
I like it,
elements
yeah.
from different games and actually put them together really nicely.
Yeah.
in the Star Wars universe. So
And it's got the sort of Titanfall wall running stuff, which is pretty fun and neat. And yeah, like, I'm really enjoying it.
yeah, it's a really good.
Has it
game.
got double
Highly
jump?
recommend.
That's the key thing I want to know.
I can't say. whether it
Okay.
does or not.
Oh, mysterious. Okay,
Well,
so
I don't
that's
wanna
me.
spoil
Quite a
anything
few
about
different
the game.
games. How about you, Mike? What have you been playing?
Well, speaking of God of War, I have finished God of War, the 2018
Ooh.
version of it.
I want to know what you thought of it.
Tell you what, I'll be honest. It was good, but it didn't blow me away.
Dude, can I just say,
Yeah.
like, God of War, I haven't played the first trilogy, right? And then the spin-offs, but I think God of War is, people are going to come after us. God of War is so
will.
fucking overrated.
It felt a little overrated, yes.
A little overrated. Dude,
Yeah.
people are saying this is the best game ever. God of
No.
War 2018.
Well, not for me anyway. Definitely not.
It's definitely not an S tier game. I don't even know if it's an A tier game, honestly.
Ooh,
Yeah,
some
there
hot
was
takes
look,
from
yeah.
the
I do, I'm-
I don't want to bag it or anything because I didn't
Why?
enjoy
Just
the
tell me what you-
experience. But
well, but be real,
I
be
don't know where
honest.
it left. It didn't really drive me.
Yeah.
Something about the level design I actually didn't really enjoy. I don't want to spoil the map layouts and stuff like that, but there was something about the way the world felt and the way it was stitched
So
together.
linear, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, there were parts where you could kind of go and do different little things here and there once you unlock a certain ability, but there was still some linearity to it, absolutely. It sort of tried to look like an open world, But also, to be honest, and I get why it, from a mythological perspective, I suppose, is structured the way it is. The main area
Yeah.
in Midgard, I think it is. I just something about the level design it didn't click with me. I can't exactly tell you why. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
The way it felt. And look, it's a decent, solid game, but there's just all these little things about it that just didn't. Maybe I'm getting old, but the number of
you are getting
moves, I absolutely
you definitely are. And you're going to die at 50 as well. So.
Hooray! The number of moves, and I don't reckon I used like, well, probably like 60% of the abilities and moves.
We
and
don't
stuff.
need to.
It's just too much. You don't need to, but it's also too much to fucking remember. Oh, if I let go of this in the middle of an attack, then I change stances to this.
I know.
And then if I do this thing, then like... I can't remember that shit.
It doesn't punish you enough, right? So you kind of just get in bad habits of like, okay, I'll just do this, get a bit of health, get through it. Did you get up to the last bit where, I don't want to ruin anything or spoil anything, but there's basically a boss rush mode late in the game where like just enemies after enemies after enemies after enemies.
As in part of the main story?
Yeah, near the end of the story.
Yeah, I finished it. I mean, I finished the story
but do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about
horde
the
mode.
Optional...
It's not optional. It's part of the main storyline.
On the elevator bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
That game
was
was
easy.
shits, man.
Oh,
it's
really?
just annoying.
Damn.
It's just like, this is so boring.
See, because I did a lot of the side stuff, and if you talk about boring, I did not enjoy...
So you would have been pretty powered. I was like very weak.
I was really powered, so it didn't really... That part was a breeze. Compared to... So I did all the Valkyries besides...
Oh, really?
Again, without spoiling anything, there is one that I didn't do. It became a bit of an exercise in frustration. Not that they're not doable, they're totally doable. And it's actually kind of a cool boss battle because you really have to learn the moves.
That's what I was going to say. You're talking about not using it. I think that's where that stuff really comes into.
But there are obviously certain abilities and stuff that you almost have to use to really succeed in a fight like that.
Yeah.
And also the controls, I hate to, again, maybe it's just me, but I felt certain parts of the controls felt a bit clunky. There were so many times where I'm like, I'm trying to do an attack and then I realize, I don't have my X on me. Oh, that's right. I gotta press Y to fucking get the X back.
I had
or
that.
It's not fast enough to switch between weapon types and triangle. There's just it felt a little like it felt refined, but at the same time kind of clunky in some ways. That I had that as well. Feel like it was doing what I was trying to do. And to top it all off, and I don't think it's necessarily the game that did this, so I can switch to a bit of a bright piece of news, if I could call it that. I noticed that my right trigger so R2 was super sensitive. Like even just trying to do anything, like I would just touch it and Kratos will go and do an attack. And I'm going, what the fuck is up with this? And then I realized it was way looser than my R2. So I think the spring of it completely fucked up.
I'm guessing.
L2, sorry, yeah.
Wait, is this on your DualSense or?
This is on my DualSense, which I
another broken DualSense. We're 2 out of 3 on the show. Shit,
and might I add, I did not use it that much. And the games that I play are not like really physically hard games. Like Gran Turismo and shit is not exactly a hard game. That's probably what I played the most. Now, the cool thing is I did take it to EB Games, and I thought I bought the PlayStation last year for some reason. Like November last year. Yeah. And then I took it, and the guy's like, oh no, you bought it in 2020. I'm like, holy shit, it's been 2 years now? Damn, man. and the controller, otherwise the controller it looked mint. Like, I don't use the PlayStation enough for it to... And the guy was nice enough. He's like, yeah, we'll just swap it out. And he actually swapped it for another... Yeah, he swapped it for a brand new one.
Legend.
Really cool.
He flashed him that high-level tier... Gold,
I don't have that anymore.
Platinum EB.
I don't.
The Andrew Tate look. He's like, I'm gonna get bashed by this guy.
Yeah. Careful this. I had my sunglasses.
He's gonna say something misogynist. Hey, wait. So, Swinny, did you get your DualSense back from Sony yet?
No, I didn't bother. I screw it.
Really? Just a broken one?
Yeah, it's just my laziness. I just can't be bothered dealing with this shit.
That is truly lazy.
I admire
you. To me, but for me, it's like I weigh up like the effort versus like how much I care, and I just don't care. I've got another controller thing.
That's fair enough. I had another controller. I didn't. Yeah. And I wasn't buying anything, so I'm like, shit.
It's like the logical thing to do was to send it off to Sony, but I just
definitely.
So
damn.
Well, I feel like I know they come with a 1-year warranty, but like, I'm not going to quote who it was or anything like that, but they may have said that they did have quite a bit of a failure rate.
Really?
Not in those exact words, but that they had other people
Jeez.
having issues with that controller.
hell.
And I can kind of see why, because they're over-engineered to some degree, I think.
And they
They
don't
really
allow
are.
you to have a DualShock 4. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, you could play God of War with the DualShock at least.
You probably actually could, right? 'Cause
I think if you install it in PS4 mode, but is there a PS5 version of it?
Well, I don't know. I played whatever was 60 FPS.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what that was.
And
And I think
But anyway.
I was just going to ask one thing. Oh, yeah. No, I was just going to say one thing. It's not open world. God of War. They never say it's open world.
Technically
No,
not.
they never say it's open world.
But it
It's not
kind
open
of
world.
has a central big hub.
But that's not open world.
No, it's not. But anyway, the whole thing, there was just something about it. And again, storyline-wise, there were just so many bits where I'm like, oh, fuck, the writing's just...
Oh, I thought the writing's okay. I just, yeah.
No, I couldn't get into it.
Ragnarok is not
I
much
like the
better.
characters. It's not much better.
No, it's pretty much more of
damn
the
it.
same.
Yeah, oh well.
We're totally shitting on
I was
God of War,
surprised-
man.
I don't want to shit on it. I was surprised because it was one of those games that I've always been looking forward to, and I was kind of surprised that
noise?
it just didn't click. I kind of just went through the journey, but it didn't. I never really felt like, hey man, I'm fucking loving this game.
Yeah, same.
So
same.
oh well. Right. Next up, I played a little bit of Need for Speed Unbound, which not much to say about it other than it feels like Need for Speed. It's a decent game, plays well. I appreciate the fact that you start off all the way at the very start, if that makes sense. Well, there's a bit of a plot twist and whatnot, but it's cool because you get that proper progression. So you're not, given the fanciest, awesomest car right off the bat or enough money to purchase one. And I actually quite enjoy that about these kind of games. And the effect, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the cartoony kind of effects that are overlaid are actually really cool. The rest of the game is graphically Need for Speed. It's a decent looking game, but I like how they get those effects. The only thing is I just don't know if I can be bothered continuing that game in the formula. It doesn't click like Forza did in that sense. But it's a decent game. And the last thing that I didn't actually get to play, but I wanted to play, but I couldn't, and I'll tell you why in a sec. I had an itch to play Ultima 7. I've never played Ultima 7. I played 8. Never actually played 7, and that's supposed to be the best in the entire series. And I'm like, man, I've got a copy of that game. I remember starting it. I remember playing a little bit of it. Where and how? And then I went on my PC and I trolled through every single bloody client I had, and I realized how many effing clients do I have now? Way
And
too
how many
many. And then half
copies
of them
of-
I forgot my passwords.
how many copies of Grand Theft Auto 5 you got on each of those clients?
Don't get me started with that. So in the end, it turns out, and I checked every single client I had. I checked my email. I checked multiple email addresses that I thought might be associated with it. Could not find it. It's like, I don't own a copy of that. And I'm sitting there scratching my head. When the hell did I play it? And how the fuck did I play this game if I can't find a single copy of it? And because I can't buy games at the moment, it was I couldn't pay the $10 for it or the $5
physically
in EA
impossible
games.
to buy
But it
games.
just I think that the sheer number of different clients now is kind of nuts when you really think about stuff like this.
Hey, what's that noise, by the way?
Sorry, it's. Let me just.
Is that your cat? Oh, no, it's all right.
No, we're house sitting a cat.
No, I heard something.
Oh,
I'm
it's
like,
another
what is that
cat. It's
noise?
another cat.
cat.
They're
He's a bit of a
multiplying.
chonkers.
Wait, is that not splooge?
Hello,
What?
Mr.
I was
Chunkers.
going to say splooge.
No, that's not.
Splooge the cat.
No, this is Charlie. You can say hello to Charlie.
Kind of looks
All
like
right.
the other one, splodge.
Hey,
So-
that's racist.
So
All
that's
cats look the same.
catsist.
I'm
So that's
happy
me.
to be
Sorry,
racist
Swinny.
against
Well,
cats.
I'll come straight. Nice play. What the hell is this guy doing?
So you...
I gotta let him out. Hang on.
All right. Well, I'll start. You can tell us about the clients in a moment. I'll start talking about some of my stuff so we can move along. I
Look how
played a
fat he
lot.
is.
I played a lot of Power Wash Simulator. I talked about last week that it's become my hey, just zone out, lie on the couch thing. So earlier in the week, I played quite a bit, and I think I'm close to the end of the career mode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
So
it's
sad.
it's funny because it's like there's like getting 5 stars in each level is just completing the level, right? And I'm thinking, what insane people are playing the level in Power Wash Simulator for like an hour and then just leaving before it's got finished? I'm like, to me, the whole thing, it's like,
What do you mean? I'm
basically,
what you're saying.
So to finish the level and clean everything, you get the 5 stars, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything extra. So I'm like, well, what people are leaving before then and getting 4 stars? It's like,
Oh, how do you get 4 stars?
You just don't do everything.
Oh.
And you just move on. I'm like, man, that is insane to me, the idea of doing Power Wash Simulator and not cleaning everything in the level.
Yeah, I wouldn't
just
get
moving
100%, but like if the level is finished, you know, because it's not the way it works, but I could imagine it being like 95% is the threshold or something. But that's not how the game works. But if it did work like that, then I could imagine I wouldn't go to 100%. I go, okay, it's done, the level's done. But yeah, quitting when you're at like 95 seems kind of weird to me.
It's just weird anyway. But I played a lot of it. Also played quite a bit of... I'll put it around the wrong way, but I'll talk about this way. I'll talk about now Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I had been wanting to play this game for a while. Obviously, it's not a new game. It came out a while back. It's, you know, the number 7 in the series. It's the RPG one that they turned into a JRPG, and I'm not super familiar with the previous games. I've played a bunch of them, but I've only played maybe about 5 hours of some of them. I've never completed a Yakuza game. But I'm loving Like a Dragon. It is so fun. Yeah, and I get why this game appealed to so many people, because it's the main character, who's called Ichiban, is just the most lovable dork, but sympathetic guy, and he's just such a good character that you just... it's been ages since I played a game, and I'm being like, man, the main character's been screwed over by so many people, but he's still like a good guy, a good, honest guy, and he's like trying to make the most of everything. They made that character so cool, and how they build up, you know, the fact is, and it's not a spoiler, it's kind of like it's right at the start as well, but his whole life philosophy and his values and beliefs, they're all underpinned by the fact that he loved to play Dragon Quest as a kid. And they talk about Dragon Quest throughout the whole thing.
Seems like a cool game.
And it's like he refers to his comrades as his party members. And there's a moment, and this is not a spoil, it's just a small moment or anything, where they come across this like baseball bat, barbed wire baseball bat in concrete. And the other members of the party, they try to take it out and they can't. And then he takes it out like he's, you know, King Arthur and Excalibur or whatever. And then from that point onwards, he starts hallucinating whenever he's in battles. So he starts seeing like random thugs on the street when you get into a turn-based battle with them. They become like fantasy RPG versions of thugs and mafia members and stuff. And it's just so like, it's one of those games you just can't help but have a smile on your face playing it. And it's just... It's so Sega in terms of like the mini games, like they feel like Crazy Taxi stuff, and it's just it's awesome. I'm loving it so far.
Check this out.
The only downside to Like a Dragon is the fact that it is so cutscene heavy. I've heard that the first part of the game, like the first number of chapters where I am, is the worst in that regard. But at the moment, it's almost like 60% cutscene, 40% gameplay.
Wow, that would drive me nuts.
There's a lot, and the thing is that the cutscenes are good and the dialogue is pretty decent. It's not like Oscar-worthy stuff or anything, but they're almost like real conversations in that characters kind of repeat themselves and they talk about the same stuff over and like a couple sentences later they'll repeat what they said. So it is a bit drawn out and it does slow the pace down, but I heard it gets better. But yeah, really, really enjoying it. And yeah, looking forward to get through the rest of the game.
You know what I heard? I heard there is a plot twist halfway through the game, which I guess I'll spoil it anyway.
No.
Where the character, the character apparently changes his name. And it's not Ichibum anymore because he discovers that it's been happening because he was using the wrong body wash.
So dope.
And he is Ichibum no more.
Ichiban, Mike.
I know.
Ah, I thought his name was Ichibum. Okay.
I think they wouldn't have like allowed it to be Ichibum, right?
It should have been that.
Anyway, so and the last game I'll mention, I'm moving past that. The last game I mentioned, you mentioned earlier, integot, is I only played a tiny bit of Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. They put out in Game Pass. I literally only played the first level. So if you've played more integot, you might be better to leave.
About the same. But I find it weird that it's kind of got an open world bit to it, where you get
open world to go to war, not open world.
Not full open world, but like pseudo open world.
Like a hub.
Yeah,
more than
they've
a
done
hub.
that before. They've done that before. So like Lego Hobbit and Lord of the Rings stuff, like they had like an openish world as well and things like that. But look, I knew this going in, but it's so different to those earlier Lego games. Like, it is almost like a different genre in terms of, like, especially the first level. Again, I've only literally played the first level, but first level, those characters, you know, like Princess Leia and that, like, they're using blasters. So it's literally a third-person shooter kind of gameplay.
It's like Gears of War, dude. Like you got cover and shit like that.
But look, it's still got a lot of the elements that I liked about those early Lego games. But I haven't played enough to really know where I land on it. I don't know how you felt into it.
Yeah, look, the thing is, you know, I think there's two things. I love the original trilogy so much of Star Wars. Like, Empire Strikes Back is one of my favorite movies of all time. So, as much as I hate Disney, when they do execute well in the Star Wars universe, I'm like, yeah, I kind of like it. Like Mandalorian, I love, right? Same as like Fallen Order. I'm getting good vibes about Star Wars with that game. And even though I think this game is like pretty vanilla white bread, because it's Star Wars, it's just like, I love all this stuff, you know? I think I'll just play it and skip all the other bullshit around it and just, I don't know. It's just cool to see all the scenes. I know what's coming. I know what's next. It's like, but it's kind of cool in that way. But I don't think I'll go much further than the original trilogy, because the new trilogy I hate, and then the old one is kind of now looks good. I almost like have a soft spot for the original. The prequel trilogy because of things like Mr. Plinkett and like, you know, seeing that when it came out, and I don't know. There's something weird about it, and just like. I almost want to play like episode 2 to see the romance scenes, like what they do, like how much do they lean into how dumb the romance is.
Yeah, with the complete saga, so that was a third Lego Star Wars game they put out. I actually preferred the prequel trilogy levels in that than versus what they did for the 3, 4, and 5 and that. Sorry, 4, 5, 6.
Original trilogy.
And so I'll be interested to see like how they reinterpret those kind of things. So, but yeah, look, it's fun. It's worth a shot if you got Game Pass.
It's free. Yeah, well, it's a part of Game Pass, we should say. It's easier to say free, isn't it? But it's not really free. So
almost free, given how much.
Oh well, there's a lot to talk about from the Game Awards, so let's jump into it.
Yes.
Kicking off the winners. You know, we're talking about the winners awards-wise.
And we've done this 3 years now. We've done this 3 years.
3 years, and also talking about our prediction contest. So I'll just cover some of the winners of the actual Game Awards. Kicking off with Game of the Year, went to Elden Ring. Also, Best Game Direction went to Elden Ring. Best Narrative went to God of War Ragnarok. Best Art Direction, also Elden Ring. We had Christopher Judge winning for Best Performance for Kratos. Best Score and Music went to God of War. Best Audio Design also went to God of War. Stray got both Best Indie and Indie Debut. Mobile game was Marvel Snap. AR/VR was Moss Book 2. We had Best Ongoing Game and Community Support went to Final Fantasy 14. Games for Impact as Dusk Falls. Innovation Accessibility, also Ragnarok. Best Action Game went to Bayonetta 3. Best Action Adventure went to Ragnarok. Role-playing went to Elden Ring. We had Multiverses get Best Fighting. Best Family Game went to Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Best Multiplayer went to Splatoon 3. Best Sim Strategy went to Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Racing Game went to... Sports Racing went to Gran Turismo 7. Best Adaptation went to Arcane, League of Legends. Most Anticipated went to Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. And Content Creator of the Year went to Ludwig. There's also a bunch of esports categories that I'm... Just for sake of time, I'm not going to get into, but a lot of Valorant won that. So
yeah, I love how you don't want to talk about those categories, and yet that was the defining feature, pretty much, of this year's awards again.
Well, we'll get into the prediction stuff in a second, but just in terms of like the numbers, God of War Ragnarok came out big with 6 awards.
Can't wait to be disappointed when I play that game.
Elden Ring, Valorant both won 4. Stray, Final Fantasy 14, League of Legends won 2 awards. And so there was a lot of single award winners, but a lot of them were snapped up by Ragnarok, basically, as well. So yeah, look, I guess before we get into the prediction stuff, maybe, I don't know if we want to just cover overall thoughts first.
Oh, look, I think the overall show was really awesome. So, like, Swinny and I watched the whole thing. It definitely wasn't shorter. I don't understand why people were saying it's shorter after it. Like, bizarre that people were saying it's shorter.
Well, they said they were aiming for 2.5, right? And it wasn't 2.5, but
it's 3 hours.
If you, like, there's definitely some times when it felt like the Christopher Judge thing, like, it obviously went long. But even that would have only shaved maybe 5 minutes. It wouldn't have cut it got it down to 2.5. I don't think. So.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking, because I will say also. Well, I want to go back to the Chris Judge thing, but they did not have as many ads. Like last year, so this is the third year that I've watched the whole thing. Last year's one was like ridiculous. It was so many ads throughout it. This one was really good. And just the ads that they had were like, oh, these are game trailers of games, like trailers that we've already seen. So it's kind of like fine with me.
It's almost as if most of the thing is designed just to advertise stuff.
Yeah, it's funny how that's the way the world works. Otherwise, why don't you just not consume anything or produce anything?
Besides,
you do. Look at all the shit in the background that you have.
That was old Mike. Shaved head Mike doesn't do that no more.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was by far the best Game Awards I've seen, and I've watched quite a few of them. Probably maybe 6 at this point, and it just felt the most like it felt the best paced one. And as you said, like a lot of the ads were all relevant. Like there weren't a lot of movie ads and stuff like that.
Wasn't like a Dorito ad, yeah.
Yeah. So and it was all pretty good. And honestly, even the ad breaks felt shorter than normal. And I don't know if that was the case, but
well, you went off because there was an ad break. And there was only one category that was going to define whether you won or I won or we drew, right? And you went off and you almost missed it. It was so short, the ad break. Like you came back and it was like, oh, they're about to say who's won. But that Christopher Judge thing was so funny because I saw on Twitter someone had taken a video of the teleprompter, Mike, and the teleprompter was flashing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Wrap it up, please. Please wrap it up. Please wrap it up. I'm like, fuck. That's like... That almost is like, how cool is that guy just to go, fuck that, I'll do whatever I want. I don't give a fuck. That was crazy.
Was it a good speech, though? I
no,
tuned out
it was boring as hell.
Okay.
It was super indulgent, super narcissistic. Yes, this is an actor, though. This is what actors are. They're super narcissists. So... Yeah.
All right. Well, talking about narcissism, let's talk about our prediction results. So we basically, it was a tale of, it was an interesting journey that we went on. We predicted all the categories.
This is the first time we've done that. That's the first time we've done
Mike didn't take part, but we had a proxy called Not Mike that we actually gave some decent shots at, but unfortunately, Not Mike came up.
Did we really?
Second. There was some that he could have gotten points, but he only got 3 out of the 31 categories.
Okay, can I just say clearly?
Probably more than I would have gotten.
But mathematically, clearly, right? There's most categories have 5 choices, right? So that means that the average, just random pick, is 6 votes. Like you would have got 6 points total. So it's like we've actually done him a dirty. We've done him a dirty. Next time, let's just do it random. Let's put a random spinner in if he's not going to participate.
Yeah. In hindsight, that would have been better. But basically, Integot ran away with the points because he got one of his reveal predictions.
I went hard early.
Which one was it?
So he predicted a new Supergiant game or DLC, and we had Hades 2 announced. So
early in the show as well.
Yeah, he got 3 points, and then he kept winning, and he was like, I think 5 or 6 points ahead or something.
5 points in front at one point.
So it was just like, I've got no hope to catch up, right? And then basically there was this run towards the end, especially there was like a bulk group of announcements they did where everything just managed to fall into place. And on the last, as you're saying, game direction, because we both had predicted Elden Ring for Game of the Year, so I couldn't get an extra point above him there. I was on like 15 and he was on 16 or something. Yeah. And I needed to get game direction as Elden Ring to be able to draw at least. And
we should say that Ragnarok was getting a stack of rewards.
Yeah.
Right. So this is before Game of the Year. But then I did actually reread what it said. I didn't read game direction properly. I literally read every single other category, what the ask was to do the votes. Game direction was literally, and Game of the Year, the only 2 I didn't read. When I reread game direction, I'm like, oh shit, that's not what I thought it was. It was like, no, I'm not making, this is not like a no John situation. I was just saying, like, no, because when we were doing it live, I was like, oh shit, like, I actually was pretty confident, and now I'm like, I think Elden Ring is actually pretty much a good chance to win here. So, and then what happened, Swinny, when they announced
and then it won, and we both ended up because we also got Elden Ring for Game of the Year prediction correct. We ended up both on 21 points, and it became a draw. So what that actually breaks down to, and these numbers are pretty nuts, I reckon. So Integot, you got 14 out of 31 predictions
almost
correct.
half right, yeah.
I got 17 out of 31
that's
correct.
Amazing.
Now, if you compare that to last year, we only predicted 15, right? 15 categories, but last year, you got 4 right
oh, thanks,
out of 15, and I got 6 right out of 15.
I got the right 4. Game of the year.
yeah, exactly. Like the points and the reveals and everything balances out. But the fact is, we just predicted so much better this year.
Hey,
it was
I
kind of
couldn't
nuts.
have got. I surely couldn't. I must have got 5. You're doing me a dirty because one of the votes would have been 5 points for Game of the Year. So if the other 3 were 1 point each, I should have been on 8 points total, not 9 points.
I just copied what was in the segment sheet last
Whoa,
year. I
a
didn't
bit
go
of controversy.
I didn't go and recalculate.
Whoa,
what am I going to?
No,
am I going
like
to spend my? Am I going to spend my
keep it like
weekend
this.
recalculating last year's predictions?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want one of you guys to not be first, because then I'll be third.
That's true. That's true.
Nah, it was
Yes,
a good
true.
fun competition.
It was
but
fun.
yeah, look, overall, I guess the only thing to talk about now is the big news that came out, the big reveals.
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah, baby.
Kicking off with FromSoft. So, fresh off winning that Best Game Direction award before the Game of the Year, we had the big announcement of their next title, which is Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. So, this is the first Armored Core game since 2013, which was Verdict Day on PS3 and 360. Miyazaki confirmed back in 2016 that they were working on an Armored Core game. So we knew it was happening. And also that was corroborated by early this year. There was surveys going out from people about the game where they sourced footage and they were asked about the game and stuff like that. So we knew this was happening, but I was still honestly surprised to actually see it announced at the Game Awards. And look, anyone doesn't know, Armored Core is a mech combat series. It's one of their biggest franchises, especially basically after the Kingsfield games. Armored Core was their big, that was their big series for FromSoft until Demon Souls obviously then got them on the track for making all the Souls games and everything. I'm not that familiar with the series. I do have Armored Core 4 Answer on 360 that I never actually played. Actually published by Ubisoft globally, so that's interesting because this game is being published by Bandai Namco, just like the Souls games. And yeah, so this is not directed by Miyazaki, but he did direct an early production. So it's actually been handled by Masaru Yamamura, so he's the lead designer on Sekiro. And yeah, it's coming to basically every platform because this has been in production so long. It's also coming to PS4 and Xbox One. Obviously, it's not coming to Switch, unfortunately. So,
dumb question. What's because I in my head From Software, it's all the Souls games, but what's the gameplay like in Armored Core?
well,
Is it third person?
It's mech action basically.
Mech-
Yeah, it's
third-
third person. It's
third
third
person.
person. Yeah.
Cool.
From what I've heard, and again, I can't say this myself, like the actual style of gameplay has actually changed throughout the series. They've done some like soft reboots and things like that.
Okay.
So the fact is, if they change it up again now, it's not going to be a new thing for the series. So there's actually like in I think a press release that went out from FromSoft, they actually said that they are actually taking inspiration from their newer action titles. So there's likely going to be some Soulsy inspiration that goes alongside the more traditional Armored Core gameplay, and awesome. Like I believe that survey is referencing back in January that it is the boss design is more Soulsy and things like that. And it wouldn't surprise me if they do elements where it's very risk reward like the Souls games where it's okay, you could replenish your ammo at this spot, but it might regenerate enemies or something. Like they might bring some of those elements in, but I have a feeling, and a lot of people saying that the previous Armored Core games were mission based. I don't think that's probably going to change because it probably suits that the most. Because then you modify your mech before you go out and everything, So I think that it's obviously not going to play like the Souls games exactly or anything. So.
It's interesting because like From Software, it's a super old company. It's like almost 30 years old, right? And they've almost had 3 eras. It's like the very, very early days, Kingsfield, all that kind of stuff, which weirdly enough, if you go back and watch, like I've watched, what's his name? Lance McDonald, who's like the Bloodborne hacker and he does a lot of cool stuff. there's a lot of stuff in Kingsfield that's like very Dark Souls. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they had the whole. It's almost like the Armored Core era. It's like so many fucking Armored Core games, but it's like I'm really fascinated to see this game just because, like, I'm not an Armored Core fan. I never really played any Armored Core games, but this is like they're full on in the Miyazaki era now from Software, right? And sure, they have released Armored Core games when he was there, but it's like totally different now. Like he runs the studio. To me, it's like he is from Software now. So it's, and he was in the early production of this game, right? Like he did the pre-production.
Yeah.
And then, the Sekiro guys like taken over. So it's like, I'm going to be super fascinated. Like I'm super interested in this game. I'm not sure if I'm going to get it on day one or anything, but I am like super fascinated to see what shakes out on this game. It's going to be really interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think there's been over 20 Armored Core games. It's absolutely insane. Like that series has a lot of hardcore fans, but I think the key to this is they want to bring in the fans they made with the Souls games. Because obviously they want this to be a big hit, so...
it looks cool. The trailer looks sick. The trailer looks dope, man. Like when we were watching it and it's like, okay, From Software, and it's like, damn, this looks crazy, so...
All right, well, I guess to the next big reveal, and this was probably the biggest needle mover, I reckon, which was Death Stranding 2. So, as we knew there would be a Kojima element to the Game Awards, and he didn't disappoint. Basically, had a really cool trailer for Death Stranding 2. Like, the early trailers for the first Death Stranding were so cryptic and so weird. This felt like, okay, you know what Death Stranding is now. Let's just go all out with the cast and everything like that. So, it's got Norman Reedus coming back, I can never say this right, Leia Sado, Shiori Kitsuna, Al Fanning, and Troy Baker. They're all in the cast as well. Interestingly, all the promotional materials and even how they listed it, like for instance on the Game Awards trailer, on clip on YouTube, it's called DS2. It's like they're actually trying to name it DS2. And it's coming to PlayStation 5 because it's had Sony up there because I believe
they own
still
the IP, right?
Yeah, the IP for console publishing and stuff like that. So yeah, Death Stranding 2, Mike, as probably the most the biggest Death Stranding
that's finished it.
the most expensive Death Stranding here.
Yeah, exactly. I really enjoy the game, but I just haven't got time to play it at the moment.
What do you reckon, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely pick it up. I mean, it's the kind of game that I think doesn't need a sequel, kind of like Blade Runner didn't need a sequel, but a sequel can be really good. So,
and Blade Runner 2049 was
really
fucking
good.
Amazing.
Exactly.
That's such a good movie.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I think
it'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to this one. I really enjoyed the first one. I also played it at a very interesting time in my life where I was between jobs, and life was good.
So it basically became your job transporting the cargo.
And ironically, yeah, it kind of was. Yeah. So hopefully, or maybe it'll come in between my next bit where I'm in between jobs, because that'd be kind of cool just to do that.
You got to quit your job just to make that happen.
I might just do that when the game comes out, yeah. Although the whole DS2 thing, I don't know, man. Dark Souls 2 is DS2.
I'm going to have to rewind my brain when I say DS2 now. But,
but have you... I'm like just double checking and verifying this. Supposedly, Dark Souls 2 is just a working title.
Death Stranding 2.
Sorry, Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, it possibly could change, but...
No, but they're saying they're going to change it before release, which I think is
so
like...
it might not be Death Stranding
It actually,
at all.
yeah, they've clarified. I'm just double checking. Yeah, they go, it's a working title, and they're going to change the title closer to release. I'm like, this is such a Kojima thing.
Different, yeah.
Such a Kojima thing.
Maybe they're going to keep the D and the S, but it's going to say something completely different, like Death something.
I don't like... Someone did say something to me where it was like... I was listening to a podcast and they're like, oh, I don't think this is a Death Stranding game. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean it's not a Death Stranding game? Like, it's literally Death Stranding 2, the trailer, right? Then I'm like, that is almost like a very Kojima thing, right? Like, somehow it's like not at all a Death Stranding game, even though there's people in it from Death Stranding and it looks like Death Stranding. I don't know.
It could also just be like all the Metal Gear Solid series had subtitles, so it could have subtitles. So,
yeah. Looks cool, though. I love the trailer. The freaking trailer is like... I've always been against Kojima making a movie because it's like, nah, dude. Like this... Like, you make amazing games, but having watched that, I was like, he could totally make a movie. And I definitely would be watching that movie. Like, if Kojima made a movie, I'm there day one. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And we also had the 3-point winning prediction of integot for Hades 2, which was a massive surprise. I don't think I've heard any murmurs about this. Like, I don't think anyone would have expected a direct sequel because Supergiant have never done a sequel to their games before. So yeah, it's launching in early access on PC next year. We'll see what other platforms get it. The Switch got it first last time on console, and then it came to PlayStation and Xbox. So we'll see where that all lands. But yeah, I know, Mike. I know you played a lot of Hades, so much so that you I think you talked about it on your first episode on the show.
Why would you play it? It's just the same thing over and over again. It's just very repetitive.
It is very repetitive, but they've done a really good job when it comes to those games. I think that's what I think a lot of people enjoyed about it, other than the really solid gameplay. The way they did the story and the way the death was part of the experience, I think few games managed to really do that as well. So it was really good. All
those story bits that I skipped the dialogue on.
Yeah, we should talk about that whole thing because, we won't talk about it now because it'll take too long. But I think we should talk sometime about the importance of story in games. And
let's talk about it next year when I'm not on the show.
Well, maybe next episode or something. Anyway. So Hades 2, looking forward to it. I quite enjoyed number 1. So
I think I'm gonna pick this up on Steam, man.
The gameplay look
get
good.
it on my Steam Deck when I get one.
It'd be awesome on Steam Deck.
Are you going to play it in early access, or are you going to wait till it goes?
I think so. I might go on the early access. Look, they're pretty good with the early access stuff. Everyone who played this on early access, like Hades, really enjoyed the experience. They really responded to feedback from people. It was pretty polished from the start. It just built the game out. So I'm like, it's not a bad way to get my head into it. The only thing I want to double check is, do people lose progress throughout the game, right? Like, I should double check if that happened with Hades early access.
Maybe. I'm trying to remember what happened with Dead Cells and those kind of games. Because I had Dead Cells very early on.
But I think Dead Cells was like almost a 1.0 early access, right? Like it was
full on.
It was almost pretty much
access, yeah.
Yeah, I
think stuff was missing.
Oh no, I was saying I thought it was a 1.0. I thought it was pretty finished, and they just kept building.
No, when I first played Dead Cells, it did not. I mean, it was solid. It was really solid, but I think they've added a ton since then.
We'll be talking about Dead Cells a little bit. So, Hades 2. I think that trailer looked fantastic. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Hades as a game. It's just that
too much.
I think that well
loved.
So
part of the game.
Mike, did you watch the trailer?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you when you were watching it? Did you feel like this is Hades 2 or it's like a DLC?
No, I felt like even the art style. The art style was.
But you knew it was a.
Oh no! Like what I say, it's a DLC versus a standalone game, and I wouldn't be able to tell you that. But it definitely felt like it was Hades.
Because when I was watching it, I was like, "This is weird." Because it's like it's definitely Hades, but I was like, "Is this a DLC?" Because it's like maybe this is a new character. Like,
I know what you mean, yeah.
His daughter or something, and then it's like
opposed to a whole new game.
Because there's big parts in it where I'm like, this is very much like the first game. Like, I swear this area was the same as the first game, and I'm like, oh, okay, Hades 2, but
the good thing with that is, they've got the engine, they've got a lot of the, they'll be able to probably reuse some of the assets and stuff, but they will be able to get this up and running content-wise much quicker than obviously the first Hades. So I think that's actually almost a good thing. And Supergiant are really good. I don't think they'll skimp on making this, feel like a proper sequel either.
Is this the first sequel they've ever done, though?
Yeah.
Yes, I said that before.
Yeah,
that's right.
And they punch out a lot of games. They punch out a lot of games. So, like when I'm looking at it, it's like every 3 years they're making a game. So Hades 2 is like living up to that. So, no, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we also had finally the reveal of Ken Levine's next game that he's been talking about for ages from his studio, Ghost Story Studios, which is Judas. So anybody that sees the trailer for Judas, basically you can tell this
Judas Shock.
The mind behind this is the mind behind BioShock.
Is there a bird squealing?
There is, sir. I'm going to close the window while you guys talk.
Sorry, Swinny.
Birds at this time of the night.
just like BioShock, it is like it's a narrative-driven first-person shooter, and it's set on apparently like a derelict space station. And so Levine's been talking about this game since like 2015, if not earlier. And we knew something was happening, and finally we actually got what it is, a brand new IP called Judas. So
hooray!
I have to say, I was kind of dumb, Swinny, when we were watching this live because Ghost Story came up. And I totally forgot it was the Ken Levine studio. Because people were like, when they saw Ghost Story, people were like, whoa, in the crowd. I'm like, what am I missing here? Like, there's something to this. Even though I've read all these bloody chapters and books about his studios and him himself. But yeah, this is like a day one kind of game, man. Like, this looks pretty sick. What a cool trailer. Some really incredible trailers in the Game Awards. Like,
yeah,
chef's kiss to the people making these trailers, man. Like, this is pretty, like this trailer, the music, everything that they did for it, was, even though it was so Bioshock Infinite, right? It still was fucking cool. It was really, really cool. And have you guys read the synopsis for the game?
I had a quick breeze through, but I didn't think would be going that much detail, so I didn't read more.
What is the synopsis?
Well, I don't really want to spoil it. Like, okay. So I read the synopsis and I was like, I don't want to know anything else, man. I'm bought in already. Like, the synopsis was really cool. Like, and it makes more sense once you read it why the trailer was calling out certain things. Very much like going back to BioShock of like, you have to make decisions, and obviously the character being called Judas as well. So like, I think it's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool.
I loved
well, like the question I have though,
scissors.
When do you think this is coming out?
2024?
I reckon it might be early 2024.
Yeah, I think 2024 as well. Yeah, definitely not next year, unfortunately. So,
although he's been working on it for a while, hasn't he? So,
ages.
Maybe
And
even next year. We'll see.
It's coming
Hopefully.
to PC and PS5 and Xbox Series consoles.
Nice.
Now, we talked about Jedi Fallen Order before. Now it's time to talk about Jedi Survivor. So, hot on the heels of them announcing the release date earlier than the week, which seems like when I actually went back and read it, I think someone went early because they actually took the information down. It was an official post by Respawn, then they took the information down. So I reckon someone screwed up and it was meant to be up in part of the Game Awards personally. But
Because I didn't know. I didn't know the release date was what it was.
Yeah. So we saw the first look at gameplay for the sequel. And that release date I'll just mention is not far away. That's 17th of March. So, so it's, and the only other thing I kind of call out is people noticed that on that page they had a whole bunch of like pre-order DLC content, and part of it is like different blaster weapons. And from my understanding, you guys can correct me, you couldn't use blasters in the first one. So it's interesting now that they're adding that as a combat mechanic. So
that would be very interesting because I guess that makes it more Bloodborne-y.
I didn't know where you were going to go with that. But that makes perfect sense when you said that.
Yeah.
They're going from the Souls-like to the Souls-born. Oh,
yeah.
No.
Where will they go next? Open world, Elden.
I am going to, and I'm not going to do like a, what's it called, a gaming resolution or anything for next year. But I'm going to lay off buying brand new games. Because I find that even this year, I bought games and then I haven't played them straight away. Like Ragnarok. I'm like, if I wait like 3 months to buy Ragnarok, it's going to be like 30% off minimum, right? And I think look, I really like Jedi Fallen Order. It just feels like Jedi Survivor is a game that if you wait a little while, it'll be like half price or free as part of like a subscription or something if you wait long enough. So
It'll be on Game Pass.
Think I'll play it day one, but I will definitely be looking forward to playing this game.
Ditto.
all right, well, it's coming to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, as is the next game, which is a game I was
excited by this.
Very excited about, and Integot no sold me on the live reaction. I'm trying to convince him how excited I am about the announcement because I watched the trailer. And I didn't realize what it was because I was never expecting a sequel to Remnant from the Ashes, and it's Remnant 2. So I'm like, holy shit! I'd never thought to make a sequel.
Small correction, just to correct you. I believe in the t-shirt sizing you only had an L, not an XL. So I don't know. Were you really that excited? was a huge XL for me.
I am
so
still
I'm a little
very
disappointed.
excited.
I'm a little disappointed.
People are
going
gonna have no idea what you're fucking
I'm
talking
going to
about.
change it for you. I'm going to put an XL for you right now.
It's
There
how we
go.
determine what in these big events what games we're going to actually talk about in the show, because we can't talk about everything, right? We'd be here forever. But yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, Remnant from the Ashes was from Gunfire Games, so the devs that were originally behind the Darksiders games, and it actually a lot of people loved it, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Gem. Yeah, and it's basically a third-person shooter, but it's got a lot of Souls-like elements. It was almost like a mixed genre thing there. It was really, really cool. It wasn't perfect, but Mike, we played through that game together.
It was awesome.
It's a game, honestly, I think you have to play co-op. It's almost like balanced for co-op, unfortunately. So I hope they do that better with this one, and if someone chooses to play it by themselves, that they don't feel like they're actually struggling against bosses, especially bosses were the hard thing, where it's just so much easier with multiple people. But yeah, fun. Look, the game had procedurally generated levels that kind of like took certain, like, I guess, certain structures, and they just mixed things up and things like that. So it felt like a bit of an experience. And so that's returning. So it's the same thing. Cool. And co-op as well as returning. And they've got this new thing they called an archetype progression system. So
yeah, I wasn't sure what that meant.
Stuff you could apparently can swap it out during play, so it's not like you're choosing a class or anything. You can swap between things, which is cool. Like Andromeda had that, where you can actually change a class at any time and things. But yeah, so it's coming to it's PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC, and it's coming next year.
And I am probably looking the most forward to this out of all the announcements.
Oh, really?
The original Remnant from the Ashes is such a I wouldn't call it like a full-on hidden gem, because it's got a cult following, but it's one of those like full-on cult games that anyone who's played it has loved it, but just not a lot of people know about it, which is a shame. It's a really, really good game.
Yeah, and talking about good games that not a lot of people talk about, we have, well, this game's not out yet, but I'll explain what that bad segue was. We have Banishers Ghosts of New Eden from Don't Nod, who made the action RPG Vampire. That's what I was trying to make, and I failed the second. So,
them from. Okay.
Yeah, so Don't Nod, most people obviously know them for the early Life is Strange games. That's, where they made the name. But they also made, like, Remember Me. Mike, I remember you talking about that game when it came out as well. And as I said, Vampire, the Gothic action RPG, I love that game. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I thought it was just almost... It actually had some Souls-like combat, but then it was almost like Mass Effect in terms of like talking to characters' decisions. And it's just, they have some really cool ideas. And it seems, I look at Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden, and it feels very Vampire to me, like everything they're talking about system-wise. So I'm really happy Don't Nod are taking another stab at this style of game. So yeah, it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. And apparently it's set in like 1695. I don't know, I did type it there, but so they're going for another period piece, but it's basically you play as like a ghost hunter. So the trailer had some elements, so I'm like, oh, that kind of looked like it's could be like from The Witcher, how you kind of like you having to like investigate and figure stuff out and things like that. But,
analyze it.
That's I thought that was great. It's coming next year, so
gotta say, I don't normally do this, but got to side with Mike here, Swinny, and call you out. That was very L energy, not XL energy. Whereas Remnant, your eyes were bright. There was a glint in your eyes. An L game, Remnant 2, and Banishers an XL. I don't know. I think
you want to host the show, motherfucker? You want to host the show, motherfucker? You can take over from me right now. You can take over.
I'm calling you out as manipulating the ratings to ensure your game is brought in.
If something's an L, it's in, even if it's a game that we know a lot about, which we'll get to. All right, so the next game we're chatting about is Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
Kills the Justice League. So we had a new trailer, for Rocksteady's, I guess, follow-up to the Arkham trilogy, and the trailer featured Batman, and they confirmed that the late, Kevin Conroy is actually voicing Batman in this game as well, which is, I think, a really, really great. I don't know if it's his last project he worked on, but I think it's a good send-off if that's the case. So, integot, I know you're super excited about this game.
It's a bit morbid way to segue. I also love how you go Arkham trilogy. Such an offense to the one Arkham game that Rocksteady didn't didn't make
Rocksteady's Arkham trilogy.
Yeah, well, you didn't put that in there. Look, I'm really, really pumped about this. I think this is going to be really cool. This studio, I just it's kind of just more like I don't know why they've taken so long to get their next game out, because we're talking about 8 years now. It feels like there's some missing game in between. Personally, something that we're working on that's just disappeared, because prior to that they were pumping out games consistently, and then they go to 8 years. It's this doesn't add up. And just going to Arkham Knight, man, that game looks amazing still. It's so unfortunate with what is it called, Gotham Knights, that coming out this year, and people doing side by side comparisons, like PS4, Arkham Knight versus Gotham Knights on a PS5, and genuinely Arkham Knight looks better than Gotham Knights, and it, from the way it's running to the actual art design itself. So I've got so much confidence in this studio executing well in this space, and I think it's a cool concept. Suicide Squad, I haven't seen the movie. I know you said it's really good. I've heard really good things about the latest.
The Suicide
Yeah, the
Squad.
latest one, the James Gunn one. And look, Suicide Squad as an idea is very cool, right? That you've got an interesting, sticky idea where someone at work actually called a team. They're like, hey, this is Suicide Squad. They're grabbing people together and doing this. And I'm like, a bit of a weird analogy, but I'll go with you on it. There's something to it, right? It's a very, very cool idea. And I can understand them wanting to branch out and do something a little bit different. But this, if I was a studio exec, I'd be like, yeah, okay, do this because it's different, but you still got Batman in it, right? And I'm sure he's going to be a big part, and Superman and stuff like that. I'm going to be fascinated to see how they handle this plot line. You know what I mean? Kill the Justice League. They're surely not going to kill Batman and Superman and people like that. I'm really fascinated to see how they handle that.
I don't know.
We'll find out shortly. This is a day one game for me. I'll be grabbing this day one. I'm looking forward to this.
What's the day one?
This is the 26th of May, 2023, which is going to be a little bit annoying because it's hot off the heels of my most anticipated game and the Game Awards' most anticipated game, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom.
Breath of the Wild 2.
No, you got there.
No, I was just it's just dramatic pause. I'm going Christopher Judge style.
All right. Well, Mike, I know you're hyped about the next three games. So
boy.
I'll leave it to you
I'm hyped about this.
to get in on.
Yeah. So as the resident person who's probably played the most Diablo out of all three of us, as in starting from Diablo 1,
Times
which I played
10,
to death back in
yeah.
the day. Maybe times 10, yeah. I do have a long history with Diablo, for better or worse. Actually, one of the greatest experiences, you guys probably remember we used to have a friend called Sam. And Sam and I...
This is doxy territory, but yeah, go on.
That's fine. That's not even his real name. Sam and I used to be really good mates until his wife made him join a cult, as I like to call it.
All right. Let's get this.
We weren't allowed to talk to him anymore. Anyway,
let's get this back on
we
track.
actually played the original Diablo on PlayStation, which is not really super well known.
How were the loading times between floors?
It
on
wasn't
PlayStation?
that bad, actually. I mean, it's the original Diablo, man. So it's not
It's the original PlayStation.
I know it is the original PlayStation.
Have you seen X-Men vs Street Fighter on PlayStation?
Diablo ran on a freaking Pentium or something. So it wasn't super bad. It was actually really cool, and it was probably my first foray into using a controller for those kind of games. Now, by Diablo 3 standards on console, I'm sure it was really clunky if I was to play it now. But back then, man, that was amazing. And I remember staying up. We literally stayed up all night, had pizza, played through the entire night until the next morning. It was awesome. Really cool experience. Too bad I'm not allowed to talk to him anymore. Anyway, Diablo 4 is announced, and it's coming out. I'm going to tell everyone right off the bat. Not announced, sorry. Not announced. It's been talked about as a result of the announcements through the show. So it's coming out on, or it's slated to be coming out on the 6th of June 2023, although I'm hearing rumors about crunch and mismanagement, and there were some articles that I read just today about stuff like that. But that's the plan. So, we've got another 6 months till we can get addicted to that game. Looks like it's a lot more story-driven, with a ton of their Blizzard's famous, and they used to be super famous for this kind of stuff. They had some of the best CGI cutscenes in the industry, I reckon, as well as a lot of in-game cutscenes. And the game is a lot more gritty and dark. So a lot of people are sort of comparing it more to Diablo 2. And looking at the gameplay, it definitely feels more like a Diablo 2 kind of successor. Diablo 3 felt... I wouldn't call it cartoonish, but something about the color scheme and the brightness and some of the elements that they had.
Oh, you're one of those, are you?
No, it did feel like that. It actually did feel like that. Whereas this is darker, more gritty, more realistic looking.
I agree.
Yeah, it definitely. I remember playing it at first, and I'm like, okay, this is not quite where I thought the graphics would go. It's almost like it's got an artistic kind of feel to it, whereas this is more real, more gritty. Anyway. I don't know if this was announced previously, but I found out a bit more about the open world structure, with the typical you're free to kind of go in different areas, but you're going to get slaughtered because you don't have the right level, which is a lot more open than what previous titles were. They were quite very restricted on where you could go next, much more linear. Some more details about being able to respec at any time you want. Anyone who's played Diablo 2 would remember that you can't respec. I think in the update to Diablo 2 you could.
Like Resurrected, you mean?
In Resurrected you could do it once, I think, from memory.
Really? Only once?
You couldn't. I think it was just once. I don't remember because I didn't get far enough to have to respec. What were you going to say, Swinny?
I was saying, and number 3, you could change your skills at any time.
Yeah,
so there wasn't
number 3 was
skill,
cartoon
more
game.
open. Yeah,
cartoon game.
I mean, a lot of games, cartoon game. A lot of games nowadays do allow you to do that, and I'm a big fan of being able to do that, even if you don't do it, knowing that the option's there. It's more fun because you can experiment with stuff, and it's a game in the end, right? So, we talked about, or we heard about the fact that some dungeons can take a good half an hour to do, even with no side quests in them. The main campaign's meant to be about 50 odd hours, I think people were saying, with a level cap of about 100. And the overworld, as it's called, is supposed to be static, but then you have about 150 dungeons which are procedurally generated and themed. So I am personally really excited about this game. I'm worried as well as excited because I know I fall into the trap of playing these games to death.
It's just repetitive. You can't get into that.
It's very repetitive, and it's so hard not to fall into that
Shouldn't
trap
play
of repetition. I shouldn't. I actually should probably stay the hell away from it.
You can't buy it anyway.
Because I know it's a
matter.
drug for me, man. It's a freaking drug.
You
I
can't
wish
buy it
you
anyway.
could do it, play the campaign, and there's like an option to go delete your character and delete the game once you finish.
Yeah, there is
the
an
campaign.
option. It's just you can.
Yeah,
You
uninstall
literally
it, but I
can do
can't.
that.
I don't have the self-control to do that.
You're
so, any of you guys getting it so we can play?
Well, you can also play hardcore mode.
Co-op.
So if your character dies, they die. So
Yeah, I know, but that's
it takes the
different.
control out of your hands. It does it for you.
It does, but that's different. I'd just create another character and get pissed off and start
Two
another
things. One, a quick correction. Diablo 2 Resurrected. It is interesting how they do this. It's one respec per difficulty level.
one. Oh, wow.
So if you up the difficulty, you get another respec, which is kind of an interesting way to do it.
I guess.
The other one is,
yeah.
look, I'm all for shitting on Swinny. Swinny, right? But him saying, oh, is he surprised that it ran on the PS1? I think it's a fair comment, right?
Loading times. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't saying the running is the loading
Okay, let's
times.
shit on
I said.
Swinny again. This is why I like to shit on Swinny. Fuck Swinny. I'm trying to go on his side, and then he's talking about the loading times.
It's just good. No, because I was just. It was a random
Look, I don't
question.
remember. I'm
Oh,
sure the
sheesh.
loading Dude, this is from an era where it used to take me 2 minutes to boot my computer up.
That's
now,
true.
Now it happens
Dude,
in like
that
10
is-
seconds.
It's kind of crazy to think about how long. Like,
really.
someone goes, oh, it takes 5 minutes to boot my computer. That's like, oh, yeah, it's within reason. Like, nowadays, it's insane,
Now it's
right?
I timed it. It's about just under 10 seconds, I think, the last time I tried it,
wow.
which is insane. So,
Look, I will. Like, the thing is, it's going to be, a little foreshadowing to the next story, proper story, but it kind of depends what happens with Activision Blizzard. Because if they get bought, it's going to be free as part of Game Pass, right? And it's a PC game. Diablo is a PC game. No one's ever going to convince me otherwise. So I'm going to play it on PC. I feel stupid if I buy
Swinny
it.
would, and I would disagree with that, but yes.
Yeah, but that's fine.
It's really good on console.
Yeah.
Really,
like,
really
it's
good, isn't
console
it?
shooters, like they're good with a controller, but anyway, PC master race for life. But like, I just think it would be stupid for me to buy it and then it's going to be a part of Game Pass. Like, that just feels dumb. So Look, if
Swinny,
the Activision thing gets killed, then I might get it actually.
I mean, this game's going to have a much more free-to-play like model than any Diablo before.
Is it paid game? That's a good question.
Knowing that it's going to be on Game Pass, we already know it's going to have battle passes and stuff. So just kind of be prepared for yourself that it is going to be more in that direction than the series has ever been before. The game looks great, but just be prepared that it will have those elements. Knowing that if it'll be on Game Pass, assuming that the deal clears and everything, then that's where they're going to make their money, is that bloody battle passes and stuff.
I just hope it's more with end game content that you can still easily play through the whole story for free, no problem, even if you have to pay your money if it's not on Game Pass, as opposed to shoving that shit in like Immortal was from the very start.
You've actually kind of like turned me a bit now, Swinny, because Diablo is kind of a bit infamous for this kind of shit, right? Like Diablo 3's auction house and all that fucking debacle.
Yeah, but
Diablo Immortal. Yeah, sure,
no,
but it's like
Diablo Immortal was a bit different. Like I don't remember the original Diablo, and I remember reading about how Diablo 1? Sorry, Diablo 3. In Diablo 3, I do remember reading, and I may be incorrect in remembering this incorrectly, that they didn't really necessarily, like a lot of people didn't really want to put the auction house in, which is also one of the reasons it got pulled out pretty quickly. But beyond that, I don't really remember them. They had the update to the game. Fuck, I forgot how long it's been so long. Reaper of Souls, I think it was.
Yeah.
Which was a standalone proper package. I even had like I think I still have the actual collector's edition of that game. And it didn't really feel like... It felt like it was just an add-on, like a proper DLC add-on that you could even get a really cool physical copy with. Whereas since then, the industry has just gone completely off the rails, way worse than what it used to be. So I'm hoping, and they've said it a few times, that that's not how they're trying to do this game, but... It is Activision. I was going to say it's Blizzard. It is Activision, and they love their money, so we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
But anyway, I'm looking forward to there is a really interesting thing, which is I was actually watching a video on it, and someone made a comment that they enjoyed the single-player experience more because of the way the world felt, that the moment you had multiple people coming in, it kind of just ruined the immersion of the game. And I am like in one of those things where I think I'll play through the entire campaign by myself, and then maybe I'll play with a friend or something.
Yeah,
but I'll do it by myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool. So next up, we have another game that was announced previously, but we got to see a bit more footage, which is Atomic Heart. So this is another game that I'm quite looking forward to. It's got a 21st of February 2023 release date for most platforms, including PS4 and Xbox One, I believe, which is really cool. It is, so if in case you guys have, but in case anyone listening hasn't seen it yet, it's very Bioshock-esque, set in sort of a communist era sci-fi world where AI has gone completely bad. And I mean, that's kind of what happens in most of the Bioshock games. Perfect utopia kind of society. So my cat just came in here again. How?
This is 100 episodes.
The door was locked. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's about a 20 plus.
You need to leave cucumbers around you or something.
I should. I just draw little circles. So it's about a 20 odd hour campaign with an open world. And by open world, I mean we did actually see some clips of driving, which I didn't actually realize until now that was in the game. Zip lining, swimming. So it kind of actually reminds me a bit of if you took Bioshock and mixed it with Dying Light. That's kind of what this game is starting to really, really feel like to me. An open world where you can kind of do different things, little dungeons, as you could call them.
It also looks batshit insane as well. So.
Wait, is that open world, yeah. This game?
It's meant to? Yeah, it's meant to be open world, yeah. From what I'm now seeing and what some of the other trailers and stuff have shown. So you got little sort of story dungeons and stuff, and you have main story bosses, but then you have little side arenas and things like that you can come across. What I think is going to be really cool is the mix of abilities. So abilities come in the form of experimental Sorry, not experimental. You get a little power glove, I think it's called, or the glove, I forget the name of it, but it's basically the ability, like in Bioshock games, where you're able to freeze enemies and you use all sorts of elemental attacks. But on top of that, it's got guns, obviously, and it's got melee weapons, which I think is really cool. So you get a bit of everything in this game, but set in sort of a sci-fi setting, which I think is really, really cool. And it does seem like it's got quite a lot of puzzles, which I think would be really interesting as well, just to see how they're weaved into the gameplay. So I'm personally looking forward to it, and you do have a note here that it is a day one on Game Pass, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So that's really good news. What were you going to say, Tony?
No, I was just saying, like, I just made sure to add that in because I think that changes how people kind of approach games these days. If they've got a subscription already, whether or not it's to that or PlayStation Plus, then it's like, okay, oh shit, like now I'm actually a bit more interested because I know I'm not going to have to fork out like $100 or whatever it is, So
yeah, like, dude, the 20-hour campaign, I'm like, eh. And then the fact that it's open world actually turns me off it more. But look, you're right, Swinny. Like, ultimately, it is kind of like this Game Pass thing. It's like probably one of those things I'll just install, try it for an hour or two, see if I like it. If not, piss it off. So.
And Mick Gordon's doing the soundtrack, which was
funny.
A funny moment during the Game Awards where Integot's like, "Oh man, this soundtrack's good." And I reminded him was Mick Gordon. He's like, "Oh
no,
yeah."
I like when I said it, I go, "Oh yeah, I know it's like Mick Gordon, but it's crazy how like good it is, just like when you hear it, like randomly." Same as Killer Instinct. Go back and listen to Killer Instinct what was it, 2016, is it? Or 2013?
I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah, he did the
Probably 2013.
Probably 2013. Yeah, friggin' hell, that's good.
So, next up, we have a new announcement. I have not heard about this game before, but
wait, no, this is not a new announcement.
Are you sure?
It is the game that you specifically said, I love the look of this game last time we saw this game.
I thought it was a different game that this... was it?
No,
You've said that about many games, though.
Oh my god, okay, wow. I apologies then.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the game is called...
Can we write that down? I apologize.
It was a while ago, though.
Okay.
I don't blame you for not remembering.
Shit, I don't remember. But I'm also... And I'll explain why I don't remember it, because it's mixing it in my head with a couple of other games. Well, specifically one other game that I'll talk about in a sec. So anyway, the game is called Replaced. I should probably call out what the game is. So it's described by the developer Setcat Studios as a cinematic action platformer. So it's a 2.5D platformer set in a dystopian 1980s America. So kind of like a, I guess, Blade Runner-esque cyberpunkish kind of thing where it's frozen in the 1980s, but it's got all this cool advanced sci-fi stuff that's incorporated into it. And what I mean by 2.5D is that it's got that, it's in 3D, but it's a really cool 3D pixel art kind of vibe to it. And it's very reminiscent of a game that was announced back in like 2015 or something that I got really excited about, called The Last Night.
So I'll just clarify, we covered this game when it was first shown back on episode 49. So that's how long ago it was.
It's been a while. There you go. Well, barely remember what happened last week. So it's very reminiscent of The Last Night, which I'm still looking forward to if that game will ever come out, because there were some issues with the developer and I think the publisher, and we didn't hear anything for a while, and then all this other shit happened, and hopefully eventually it would actually come out. And it's... Which, by the way, there were some rumors that The Last Night was supposed to appear at the Game Awards, but it never, unfortunately, happened, which is a bit of a shame. And the game also quite reminiscent. If you guys have played... Well, reminiscent, it's quite different, but I love the genre of the 2D action kind of platforming sort of games. Now, I know Shadow Complex is a bit different because it's a different kind of style of game, but I love that 2.5D perspective in those kind of games. I freaking love it. And it's very sort of reminded me of Deadlight in terms of that perspective as well, which I think was an awesome game that deserves a sequel as well. So yeah, look, it's coming out on Steam, according to the website, on Steam, Epic, and Xbox. There was no mention of PlayStation on the website, so I'm not sure if it's going to come out in that as well, sometime in 2023. And I do believe day one on Game Pass, which would be awesome as well, because it's another game that... and I love the look of this game. It looks really cool, unique, and I love that kind of art style in those games. So, it looks awesome. I just would like,
and maybe they've released it, I haven't seen it. I'd just like to see like an extended gameplay segment rather than just like a flashy trailer.
Yeah.
So just to see if it's like, because a game can look amazing. Like Somerville I talked about the other week. Somerville looked amazing, but it was all style and just the gameplay fell flat. So maybe if they've put something out, I'll have to go track it down. So.
I'm not 1,000% sure. Is it like basically a platformer? Like, is there any 3D element to the platforming? Because some of the trailer, it makes it look like there is to a degree, but I don't believe it is. I think it still kind of gets back into the Shadow Complex territory, which that had no real 3D apart from the start of the game.
Cool. And Mike's just given up on the show to focus on cats.
Yeah. No, I haven't. It's just he's destroying all my crap and he's peeing everywhere.
That tail on you looks insane.
I'm gonna wrap your segment up and then move on to the last of the Game Awards. So there's been a lot of Game Awards stories. The last one is just quick chat about the fact that Dead Cells has a new DLC that is returned to Castlevania. It's a Castlevania crossover DLC, which was awesome. And when I was reading up about what's in this, it actually sounds pretty cool. I've never actually played Dead Cells, and maybe this will get me to jump in. Obviously, the game's been around for a long time. I know a lot of people love it. But basically, this will have a new story featuring Richter and Belmont and Alucard as you explore a Dracula's castle location. However that works in the whole roguelite thing of Dead Cells, I don't know. It will have 14 iconic Castlevania weapons. It'll also have some monsters and music from the game. And there will be 20 unlockable character costumes. So basically, you'll be able to make your character become Richter, Belmont, Simon Belmont, Trevor Belmont, Alucard, and apparently even Dracula. So also has it actually has 3 new bosses. Like it has Dracula, Death, and apparently some thing that's like their most ambitious showdown yet. So whatever that ends up being, I'm not sure. But this looked really cool.
Yeah, it looks like it's so weird being in Dead Cells on reflection. Like I think I'm just so desperate for Castlevania to come back. I love Castlevania. Stupidly, I go back, and I did this recently. I didn't put it in the show notes, but I'm like, okay, I keep telling myself, don't go back and play Super Metroid, Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion, and then the Castlevania Advance trilogy, because I just go back and play them all the time otherwise. And I fucking started doing that again with Circle of the Moon. I started playing. I'm like, why am I playing this? I've played this like 4 or 5 times all the way through, right? And I just want another game like that, honestly. And this is really cool. Like, this is sick. It does make me just like, I don't know. I almost want to buy it just so that Konami goddamn wants to like give the IP to someone who wants to make a Metroidvania, like full-on Metroidvania game. Because thing is, like, Dead Cells, personally for me, like in that roguelike formula, it's like it never sits well, like a Metroidvania style, Castlevania style game in a roguelike type of formula. I like that it's like someone's almost like crafted the map and how it's all interconnected and the backtracking and all the different things that they play in that genre. Like, that's important to me, that it's all sort of like individually done by a designer.
Crafted, yeah.
Yeah, like Shadow Complex. They drew it like in pen. Like, there's this huge. I would love to own this. I would fucking love to own this, right? So the people at Chair, right? They drew it all in paper, right? Mapped it all out, and they actually have that for Shadow Complex 2. They've already got that, the map of Shadow Complex 2, which makes me sick that doesn't exist.
Makes them sick, damn it.
It's disgusting.
How dare they?
They're making the frogs gay.
How dare they tease me with the paper?
So, like, I don't want to shit on this, like, because I'm like excited about this, but on reflection, I was like, it's so annoying. Like, why can't we just fucking get like Konami, make your money, like shell out the IP to someone who loves to make Metroidvania games, and you like get the guys at like Ori to make a Castlevania game. I don't care, right?
Get Way Forward to make
or whoever. It doesn't matter, right? Like, Castlevania is such a cool IP, and look, like, this is really cool. I am like thinking about picking it up just because I love Castlevania so much. But it does make me hungry, a thirst for the blood of more Castlevania.
Was there an actual gameplay thing, or was it just the video that was shown?
I don't know if there was, right?
Because that's why I wasn't as excited. I'm like, okay, cool, but
I mean, you know
what
Dead Cells gameplay looks like.
No, I know what that, but
They've got images.
Yeah,
They've got images.
but I guess it's like it feels like I would love an actual Castlevania game much more than having some sprites of the characters in a game like Dead Cells.
But there's more than sprites.
Kind of
I mean,
game.
there's a lot. They bring a lot into this. It's not just sprites. But it is also, remember, this is also for Dead Cells fans. So they're not going to change the way Dead Cells works.
Which, by the way, great game. And I think integot, you said you were interested in giving it a crack?
I've played it a bit. It never really fully clicked where I'm like, oh, I'm addicted. But you know how games are, sometimes it's like, I can seriously see how this game is like a S tier game for someone, right? Like, going back, we're going to get so much hate. Like God of War, I almost don't understand why people think that's an S tier game. I got to be real. It's like it's the same as Marvel movies. I don't understand how some people are like the Marvel movies are the best movies ever. I'm like, are you fucking insane?
Is a Marvel movie game, if that makes sense.
It's better than that. Like, I'll give it more credit.
Yeah, okay.
But it's on that vein of like, I can't understand how someone thinks this is like an S tier property. Like, I just don't get it. Whereas I could totally see how people say Dead Cells is an S tier game. It still hasn't clicked with me. And I played it for quite a few hours, but yeah, like it is a reason why I'll come back to it though, like with this DLC. So we'll see how we go.
Well, that's a whole lot of Game Awards. That's a whole lot of Keighley. As we said before, like
good work, Jeff.
Just the fact that there was that much stuff to talk about, and there was new Lords of the Fallen gameplay. There was release date for Baldur's Gate 3. So there was so many things that we couldn't fit in. That was just like, okay, you got to cut some stuff. It just goes to show how good the show was. So
Fire Emblem. I'm going to throw in my ones. The Fire Emblem Engage DLC announced. We didn't mention the one thing though, Swinny. You've neglected to mention the most important thing of the Keighley's. What happened late in that? I
was waiting for one of you guys to bring it up.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We had right in the Game of the Year announcement, we had
Dark Spirit summoned
a small child. No, he was actually he was like a 15-year-old dude. Walked up on stage. When we're watching you can check out a live reaction. We're like, what is this kid doing here?
Can I give us a pat on the back? So I rewatched this on other people's reactions. Right? People are not saying anything. Like nothing, zero. They're not saying anything. If you watch it live, we were like, who the hell's this kid? Who's this kid in the background? Why is there a kid in the background? And they're saying about his hair and like, what's up with this guy in the background? He's not a part of, like, what's he doing there? So we were onto it, man. We were onto it.
Yeah, but like, man, I lost it when he just got up to the mic. It was one of those surreal moments that you can never script something like it. And as much as I don't agree with him doing it, like the balls on that fucking kid to do that and do the stuff he's done in the past, I could never do shit like that even if I wanted to, man.
No, but can I say one thing about this kid, right? That look, if you're Jeff Keighley, it'd be like, oh my God, like the meme of the Game Awards would have been something like Christopher Judge talking for like 10 minutes, right? Yeah. And they couldn't get him off, right? And like that would have been it. And then like it was it was like Bill Clinton, because he got up on stage and said something like, I want to dedicate this award to my Reformed Orthodox rabbi, Bill Clinton, right? And it's just like, Bill Clinton, the word was trending. It was like #1 on Twitter for a while, right? Like Jeff Keighley would have been so filthy about that, right? And I will say one thing about
publicity is good publicity, right?
Well, true, but yeah, that's true. I mean, it may not have made some news outlets if it didn't happen, right? But the one thing I will say about the kid is he wasn't like a real pest about it, right? Like sometimes these people, they'll jump in, it's like the World Cup final and they'll run out on the thing and it would actually interrupt the flow of the game or whatever. He actually waited to a Miyazaki finish completely. Like, I'll give him credit for that. Like, he completely finished and then walked away and then he's like, then I'll go up, right?
He was a respectable troll.
He was. No, I'm being serious. I'm actually... To me, that is like massive difference. If he actually like went to talk instead of like Miyazaki and like kind of made it weird for Miyazaki then to talk, like I would have been like, I'm actually pissed at this Bill Clinton kid. But the fact that he waited, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Could be Bill Clinton's kid, actually.
It was fucking. We go back and watch our reaction. Like we were losing the plot. And we actually stopped the stream and we went back and watched a bunch of it. Like, when did he come in? Like, when did he enter? Like, how did it work? You know?
It's been interesting to see other people's reaction to it. I think we were the ones that lost it the most out of the people I've seen. Like,
That's
other
true.
people just like, oh, what happened? Or like, oh, that's weird. Like, we
were laughing like crazy. I know. It's true. We should have clipped it. We should have clipped it because we were laughing like insane. It was like, what the fuck is happening? What is this kid doing? This is so insane.
Also, I think, we're not used to them for long streamers. So, we're probably also delirious from the 3 hours.
Can I say, like, because I'll definitely do it next year if one of you guys want to do it. As we've been alternating, right? Oh, no, wait. You did it last year as well, Swinny, right? Yeah, that's right. Anyway, you did it the first year, Mike.
I definitely did it.
You did it, yeah.
I don't remember doing it, yeah.
But it's like, people who do 12-hour streams. I'm not saying it's like harder than working at Woolies, but that's not easy being on camera for that long with taking minimal breaks. Like, that is pretty insane. And the one TGA thing I wanted to say, Swinny, was Tekken 8. Greatest slogan I've seen in many, many years. Many years. Fist meets fate. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's fucking awesome. And it's not being used, dude. I Googled it. No one's ever written that. I'm like, how is that possible? Fist meets fate.
I don't know if it holds up to Daikatana. John Romero's going to make you his bitch.
I want a shirt that says Fist meets fate. That's freaking cool. I love it.
All right, so we're just going to cover one last story. There's no wrap-up this week because there's so much news in the main segments, but it is pretty big news. We talked about it a lot a couple of weeks ago, which is the updates on the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And we mentioned back then, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that we said that the reports are coming out that the US Federal Trade Commission is likely to basically try to block the deal. And that's exactly what they announced this week. So they have confirmed they're suing to block the acquisition. So I don't know if you wanted to bring up their thing, integot, or not. It's just a bunch of words. But I've pulled out some choice quotes from it.
Gaming, opportunity, court.
Yeah.
More,
so
exclusive.
some of the highlights from their there's a whole document you can read. I haven't read the whole document, but they're like little mini press statement. Basically, they raised the Microsoft track record of acquiring and using valuable gaming content to suppress competition from rival consoles, including its acquisition of ZeniMax, Bethesda. And that recently Microsoft decided to make several of Bethesda's titles, including Starfield and Redfall, Microsoft exclusives, despite assurances it had given to the European antitrust authorities that it had no incentive to withhold games from rival consoles. Which I think, I remember, Indigo, you were actually talking about this as well, where you're like, oh, Phil Spencer he's like, he's got this good guy persona, but he's such a businessman where he kind of like the way he was talking around that deal, the Bethesda deal, was like, oh, we want all gamers to have access to this. And then,
as long as it's Game Pass on PlayStation Store.
Yeah, so I don't know.
All gamers do have access to it as long as you are willing to go buy an Xbox.
I don't, based on what his public statements were in that time, I don't remember him like giving a concrete thing to that, but I don't know what they said to that they're referencing the European authorities around that stuff. So, but another quote from the FTC says from the director Holly Avadova, that Microsoft has already shown that it can and will withhold content from gaming rivals. Today, we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent game studio.
Huh?
That's their words.
Okay.
To harm competition.
No, they mean independent as outside of platforms.
Yeah.
Out of platform.
Okay, right. Okay.
To harm competition in multiple dynamic and fast-growing gaming markets. So look, it's not surprising based on those reports we had a couple of weeks ago to do this, but it is a massive barrier for Microsoft. It's kind of wild.
It's a 0% shock, right? Because the share price didn't even move, basically, really, right? Like it's actually higher than when we spoke about it last, right? So the market already had it priced in. Look, I think that quote, that earlier one where it was like, where Microsoft executives, despite assurance it had given to the European antitrust authorities that it had, quote, no incentive to withhold games from rival consoles. It's like the most like PR, legal compliance, like sitting down in a room. Okay, so we are going to take it off all the other platforms. But what can we say that would still work and it's not like we're lying? So it's like no incentives. And it's like, yeah, but the thing is, PlayStation started to say that other things are exclusive. So maybe we need to fire back. And that's now... The facts on the ground have changed, so we're not lying before. It's just, I'm kind of getting a bit sick of Phil Spencer. And I'm also like, honestly, like, you look at the Game Awards, Swinny. Where the fuck were the Xbox games coming out in the Game Awards? It's crazy. Like, you own so many goddamn studios. You're almost ruining all these studios. Like, what the fuck's going on with them? I'm like, seriously, man.
There was a big potential Xbox game coming out, and that was Diablo, because Blizzard Activision.
Yeah, no, exactly. But, I stand by my point. I think it's still valid that I think at some point it gets so like murky that if there's any chance of a contagion effect onto Microsoft in general, like, their broader ecosystem, that's when they'll start to look at it and go, hang on a second, like, we can't let this put the regulators offside with us for other things. Because, like, one thing that you called out the other day, Swinny, and I just want to pick up on it again. I just did an update on Windows, right? And part of the forced onboarding flow, this is Windows, right? Part of the forced onboarding flow is one point where it goes, do I want to subscribe to Office 365 Cloud or whatever fucking it is, right? And I can't, like, there's no setting that I can change to say, don't advertise to me in Windows. Right, this is my operating system. Why have they got a monopoly to just flog any of their products onto me, right? It's fucking dodgy. It's like back in the 90s days where they had like the operating system and like, okay, we're going to force install Internet Explorer and a whole bunch of stuff that you can't take off. So that's the big thing for me, that it's like, maybe like at some point they themselves will go, fuck, maybe we need to like withdraw this. But they have to pay $3 billion to Activision Blizzard if the deal doesn't go forward. That's the deal that they've made with them.
Will make more money.
Well, talking about the board of Microsoft, so the Microsoft president, Brad Smith, actually commented on this. So this whole FTC thing. So he said, we continue to believe that this deal will expand competition and create more opportunities for gamers and game devs. We have been committed since day one to address competition concerns, including by offering earlier this week proposed concessions to the FTC. While we believed in giving peace a chance, this quote is a hell. While we believed in giving peace a chance.
He did say that. Oh my God.
Yeah. We have complete confidence in our case and welcome the opportunity to present our case in court. That quote is just the most like,
it's crazy.
Give peace a chance. Now it's war, motherfuckers.
I don't think they have a leg to stand on from a like. I think that if it goes to court, Microsoft will win easily. Because there's nothing in the law that blocks things like this. So
antitrust, there's no antitrust laws against.
No, but it's not. It's games. It's media. There've been much bigger deals than this, honestly. Like in terms of where you are actually shrinking the pool, and they haven't blocked it. So
it's the fact that the end result, even if they do the acquisition, that they won't still have like the majority like share in the market as well. Like
no, exactly. Yeah.
Unlike something like Disney and Fox, where they're putting out like vast majority
of
the big movies. It's
like
nuts.
When you look at the box office, it's like a third, and they still let that go through. I can't see a universe where they'll actually block it. I still stand by the thing is like, if this puts the regulators offside just generally, that is like, that's worth money for Microsoft, right? Like, so at some point they might look at it and go, but that's probably why they got that $3 billion thing in it. Like Phil Spencer's probably done it dirty and been smart, and it's like, okay, I actually want to get a poison pill here, because then Microsoft has to do it. You know what I mean? Like they almost can't back out at that point, because they're like, shit, we're going to have to pay $3 billion to Bobby Kotick. Imagine that. That'd be awesome. If he gets $3 billion and gets the company back. Fuck me. That's the best outcome if that happens.
Fucking Bobby Kotick. Well, just in an effort to wrap things up a bit, we also had, and I can't remember if this came out, I think this news came out prior to the FTC making this announcement. I think it did. But we had
after. Okay, but that's interesting.
But Microsoft announced that they have a 10-year commitment to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo platforms, which is really kind of, it's absurd and funny at the same time, because everyone, it's like, okay, everyone knows this is also, because of PlayStation stuff, like being, digging their heels in. But just to quote Phil Spencer, Microsoft has entered into a 10-year commitment to bring COD to Nintendo following the merger of Microsoft and acquisition Blizzard King. Microsoft is committed to help bring more games to more people, however they choose to play.
Bullshit.
I think the last Call of Duty game was probably on the Wii U, I believe. So
yeah, it was Wii U.
I believe this means that a game or one or two will come out, but I'm like, how does that even work? Like, are they going to do some cloud stuff or whatever,
Yeah, probably
cloud.
Well, probably cloud stuff for a whole bunch of stuff. But they're not just talking about the Switch here. I mean, they are probably thinking about future Nintendo consoles. But otherwise, cloud stuff. Like I said, I played. I don't know how it wasn't unresponsive, but COD is a very twitchy kind of game, right? You don't want to play that on the cloud, I wouldn't have thought. But having played Resident Evil Village on the Switch and being pleasantly surprised how good it was, I kind of see it working.
Slower gameplay though,
and if it's a cloud thing, they're like, well, fuck, we could easiest way to implement this on that platform, right? And we've done our due diligence. We've included it on another platform. You can't tell us we're not competitive.
I think the big part of it, so Swinny, this came out before the FTC announced their thing, right? I don't think they would have, from a PR perspective, published this if after the FTC. That would have been crazy if the FTC was like, we're going to sue you, and then we announced this the next day.
They couldn't have made the deal that quickly after that anyway, right? This would have been in the works for a little while.
Nothing ever works nothing works quickly with Nintendo.
No, exactly.
Probably like 2020 or something.
It is kind of amazing. I think the big one is Steam. The fact that they're like saying for 10 years they'll have Call of Duty on Steam.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty massive. Because that's a lot of people, that's where they want to play it, right? They don't want to play it anywhere else. And I think, honestly, Nintendo's probably sitting there going, sick. Like, we don't give a shit. We don't even have Call of Duty. We got nothing to lose. And then, because, think about it. Like, Activision Blizzard on Nintendo, it's like nothing, really, for them, right? If they can be like the idiot in the middle that gets a huge bonus out of this fight, and they're like laughing. They're like, this is awesome.
And so Bobby can't lose, Nintendo can't lose, basically.
Bobby definitely can't lose. He's also in a job for as long... Like, they almost can't get rid of him until this whole shit gets sorted. And this is going to be unfortunately, 2024 at the earliest now. Because these court cases go on forever. This is wild. Because even if they get to the end of the court case, then they have to go back to the M&A activity. So it's it's going to be so long, man. This Bobby Kotick guy is making mint as the CEO of Activision with all this accusations hanging over his head. It's freaking awesome. But, can I just say again, Phil Spencer, man, he talks out of the side of his mouth. It's sure, give him a 10-year deal, right? Yeah, cool, 10-year deals. And I said this last time, they can never do a perpetual deal. That's just, you can't do that, right? No business would ever do that. It's insane. But 10 years, even though everyone goes 10 years, wow, that's forever. It's not, though. This is a super long commitment that Xbox are making, right? In general, in that space. 10 years is nothing. And there's zero guarantee that at the end of the 10 years, they don't just say, okay, it's Xbox exclusive now. There's no way that you can guarantee that they'll keep releasing it on PlayStation after that. So, yeah.
Well, maybe if Sony wanted to be competitive, they should just make their own Call of Duty franchise.
They said it's impossible. If you actually go through all the thing, it's quite interesting.
Impossible.
They bring up Battlefield. They talk about their games like Killzone.
Why don't they go buy Battlefield and EA?
No, they said that Battlefield couldn't be successful. It just proves that it's Call of Duty is just unstoppable, basically, is what they're saying.
By the way, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 just became the highest selling game of the year as well.
Really?
Yeah, beating out Elden Ring.
Oh, God. Who are these people playing these games? I don't get it. I really...
And just remember, that game hasn't been out... Elden Ring's been out since, Feb or March or whatever,
also, it's, not reviewed well at all. It's been quite, okay and, average for the most part. How is this, this is unbelievable, man. Jesus Christ. What is wrong with people?
It's Call of Duty.
Yeah. But, the way I would look at it a little bit is, it's like Pokemon, Mike, right? I don't want to trigger you. I'm not actually trying to do that. But, imagine going, okay, I'm going to make something that's going to compete with Pokemon. like on the same levels, like monster, catching and
Monster
raising and stuff like that. You couldn't do it. It's impossible. It's like got so much momentum, Pokemon, in that genre.
Yeah.
And I think Call of Duty is a little bit like that. Like multiplayer shooters. People just like, they play Call of Duty and then the next one comes out and they jump on that one. And it's like all these people are on there. So it's
same as like Pokemon and stuff like that. Even if a lot of people acknowledge that certain previous titles are objectively probably better than the most recent release, it doesn't matter. It's going to sell like hotcakes just because of the brand.
So can I just ask, because, we're not going to hear the end of this for a while, Swinny. What is your judgment? Is it, flash forward 5 years. 5 years, is Activision Blizzard King going to be a part of Microsoft by 5 years' time?
I think they will.
Mike?
I think they will.
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, I say it's like 99% chance.
I wouldn't bet on it, but yeah.
Microsoft's war chest is just too big to not see this to the end, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't think there's really a leg that the regulators can stand on. It's just the small thing in my head about the business risk of them getting annoyed in general. But yeah, I think all of these franchises will be a part of Microsoft. And then whatever the sequel to the Nintendo Switch is going to have Call of Duty.
Because also just think of it, like the reputational damage if this falls over and they couldn't make it past, people will see them as losers as well. Like
that's true.
Unfortunately, is you shouldn't look at stuff like that. But I mean, this is the gaming community we're talking about here. So,
and they've kind of gone chips in with Game Pass. Like they've gone crazy with Game Pass. Like from a business point of view, I super admire what they're doing, and I think it's super interesting. They're like, we can't beat PlayStation doing what PlayStation's doing. We can't beat Nintendo doing what Nintendo's doing. We need to do something completely different strategically, and that's what they've done. And I think it works, but they just haven't got the content. They haven't got the games. And then this kind of solves it for them. Like Call of Duty every single year will be like a big push. People will go, I just think a lot of people will sign up to Game Pass because of Call of Duty on day one, right? Definitely. Like it's so important to them.
And it's brilliant because they're not going to play anything but Call of Duty. So they're not even going to worry about the costs. It's a Call of Duty subscription basically.
Exactly. COD Game Pass. That's what it's going to be called.
And then they'll have the battle passes on top of that. And yeah.
And then all the other games as well, right? That they've got on there. So far out, man.
Well, that's... I do hope that's the last we hear about for a while, but it was just a big enough, obviously, new update around this stuff. And then the Nintendo stuff is just funny to think about. But all right, well, I think it's time to wrap up the show. Next week, I don't know. I was looking at the schedule for the remaining shows for the year and stuff, and I don't know if we want to do that special segment that would kind of be talking about maybe next week. That might make sense if it's not a super busy week.
I got 3 guaranteed shows in me, right? I'll still be on the show whenever you guys want to have me on, right? But
we'll think about it.
I'm going on holiday for a little tiny bit, but we've got to talk about if we're going to do a New Year's, what you guys are doing for New Year's Eve. My kids are too young for New Year's Eve, so if you guys want to do a New Year's Eve show, that could be my last show. I'm kind of happy if you guys want to do that.
Speak to the woman.
Yeah. One of the shows will be our big year in awards show. So we'll do a third one of them where we will crown our game of the year and our personal categories and stuff like that, because that's always fun to do. But yeah, all right. Well, we'll have a think about what we're going to do next week.
Well, let's do the top 10. Let's do the top 10 because when else are we going to do it?
All right. So
I want to do the top 10.
All right, we'll do it then. So
I've already come up with my top 10. I spent hours and hours on this.
Because we haven't done it on the show before, and it's probably the last couple of chances we'll have for Integot to do it as part of the main regular schedule.
Yeah, not a guest. I'll be a guest in the future.
Top 10 favorite games, which is something I always love creating lists, and we haven't done that yet. So yeah.
Can we? I always want to do this in an interesting way, right? Mm-hmm. So we're all going. You'll come up with your top 10. I'll come up with my top 10. Mike, your top 10, right? Do you want to start from 10 and then maybe we'll do it in the chat? I don't know. I just want to do it so that if you have the same game as me, we wait until whatever the highest ranking of that game is.
Look, I think
let's do it like that. Let's do it like that. Done.
You're overconfident.
always no. Just like how much did you enjoy the Game Awards with the extra points and point multipliers?
You like to be complex.
Yeah, you set the right rules, and then very complex behaviors come out of it. You know,
Keep it simple, stupid.
no, it's boring. If you just talk about the same game over and over again.
Simple rules.
For simple minds.
That's what we're gonna do. Top 10. If your 10th game is higher on my list, then we wait until it gets to my list to talk about it.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it. Come up with a list, Mike. Come up with it and then refine it over the week.
Mm-hmm.
I've got
Don't come up with it on the show.
Yeah, we're calling him out because we know he's going to do that.
Number 9 is let's see here.
Pokemon Scarlet Violet.
Pokemon.
I wonder if we could guess each other's lists. That's
Possibly.
I reckon you'd be able to guess at least 6 of my 10, I reckon. But, there's so many that are like, I just don't know what makes up those last, like, 7, 8, 9, and 10 and that, you know.
Okay.
So,
I had 24 and I've whittled it down to 10, but I need to look at it again. But one thing that I've done, you guys do whatever you want to do. I've actually just gone, okay, for a series, I am picking just one game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll end
I
up
would do the
having
same.
multiple, like, Zeldas or some shit like that.
Yeah,
in the list, and I don't want to
probably
do
gonna
that.
do that too.
I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. So I've only got one game in that series. But like, you guys do you. You guys do you. I think there's a few surprises in it for me, maybe. We'll see how it goes.
All right.
Sounds good.
Well, until then, thanks everyone for joining, and we will catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Catch you later.
Later, y'all. Bye.
Bye.